Chapter 32. Biden should summon the courage to reverse course on China. In Alaska last month, Antony Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, and Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, gave a public dressing down on democracy and human rights to Yang Jiechi and Wang Yi, China's top foreign policy officials. They did so in the confident belief that the U.S. knows how to triumph slowly and patiently over a communist adversary. Yet even though the U.S. won the Cold War, China may understand better why Soviet communism failed. It is determined not to make the same mistakes. China's analysis would match that of George Kennan, the U.S. master strategist. Kennan wisely predicted that the Cold War would be determined by Washington's ability to create among the peoples of the world generally the impression of a country that knows what it wants, which is coping successfully with the problem of its internal life and with the responsibilities of a world power. Here's the shocking comparison. Vis-a-vis the Soviet Union, the U.S. was ahead on all three counts. Vis-a-vis China, it is not. The first indicator of the Soviet collapse came from negative trends and indicators of social well-being, life expectancy, infant mortality, suicides, opioid or alcohol addiction. Today it's the U.S. that is doing badly. In contrast to other developed societies, U.S. life expectancy is declining. The educational standards of U.S. teenagers lag behind those of many advanced industrial countries. If Kennan were alive today, he would be shocked to see the U.S. spending $5 trillion on unnecessary wars, while the bottom 50% of Americans have seen their income stagnate for decades. There is a sea of despair among white working classes. China is doing the opposite of the former Soviet Union. China believes the Soviet leaders failed because they lost touch with their own people, ignoring their welfare while engaged in foreign wars. China hasn't fought a major war in 40 years. Unlike the Soviet Union, it controls military expenditures. No country has improved its people's well-being as much as China. In terms of human development, the past 40 years have been the best 4 decades in 4,000 years of Chinese history. China still faces many internal problems. Success is not guaranteed. Yet against the backdrop of a century or more of humiliation and suffering, the lives of the Chinese people have never been better. Hence, the U.S. Cold War strategy will not work. The Biden administration is making a strategic mistake in carrying on with Donald Trump's policies toward China. Curiously, Biden himself declared in 2019 that Trump's trade war had failed to help U.S. workers. The data backs Biden's assessment. In 2009, the size of China's retail goods market was $1.4 trillion, compared with $4 trillion for the U.S. By 2019, after 3 years of Trump's trade war, China's market was approaching $6 trillion, bigger than that of the U.S. at $5.5 trillion. Even if Biden's administration wished to change course on China, it is constrained by a rising anti-China mood in the U.S. body politic. Unwise steps taken under Trump remain in place: the closure of China's consulate in Houston, restrictions on Chinese journalists, ending the Peace Corps and Fulbright scholarship programs in China. Biden administration officials are clearly afraid to be seen as soft on China. However, if they wanted, they could construct a strong case for reversing Trump's policies. They could point to the reality that the Trump administration actually strengthened China and Xi Jinping, its president. How? The Chinese people can see that their government has protected them well in the COVID-19 emergency. Meanwhile, the Trump administration floundered, resulting in the deaths of more than 500,000 Americans. When U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo hurled insults at China, they only strengthened the standing of the Chinese government. Similarly, most Chinese thought that their policymakers won the public argument in Alaska. So too did many other Asians. All this points to a wiser course available to the Biden administration. It should declare, as Biden did earlier, that Trump was wrong on China. It should then press the pause button on the U.S.-Chinese geopolitical contest, while assessing whether Washington can formulate a better strategy against such a formidable competitor. Ending the trade war with China would boost economic growth in the U.S., helping Biden in the 2022 midterm elections. And most of the world would cheer if the Biden administration pressed the pause button, especially while COVID-19 is still raging.